beware of the clap. Not the clap, but this. Anyways. and we're started off already.
It's gonna be one of the ones.
Yes, it will. Man, welcome back to another episode of Keepin It a Bean. Keepin It a Bean is a podcast that brings together commentary and culture all over a cup of coffee, or in tonight's case, some tea. This podcast is just my way of inviting everybody into the space that I am most comfortable in, where some of my favorite conversations happen, and those are in Black bookstores and cafes are some of my favorite places to have a conversation. So this is kind of my way to welcome to Cafe Keys. We out here. But if you are new here, my name is Marquise Davon, never Mark. You already know what it is. But if you are returning, you already know the vibes. Hello to niggas and niggas only. Once again, if you are watching this episode and looking at all these lovely faces on here, that means you're watching us on YouTube. So don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. Make sure you give a thumbs up. Make sure you're engaging in the comments. However, you already know if I am your Monday morning commute, because that's when this episode drops with just audio, make sure that you are also leaving a rate and review. Do not be a hater. Leave 5 stars. Make sure you are also leaving a comment, because that's really what helps podcasters out here. It allows us to show up on different playlists, but it also allows us to know that you are listening. If you want me to keep up with the conversation, use the hashtag KIAB or Keepin It a Bean on Twitter, because that's where I am. I'm a man of the Twitter streets. So if this is the case, that is one of the best ways to support me. If you want to support me monetarily, you can go to patreon.com/marquisedavon. That's MarquiseDavon. There you can pay as little as $2 a month, which is $24 a year. Or if you can't support me monetarily because your Netflix bill might be a little too high, even though my Patreon is only $2, or you're not using your gym membership to Planet Fitness, you're wasting $20 a month, you might as well just come over here. Get some exclusive content, get some exclusive drops, get ahead on some of the news that's coming out as well of anything that I'm doing. So support your boy. But, we're in a depression. Economic anxiety does exist. So you can also support me non-monetarily by telling a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend, because I do believe word of mouth is still the most powerful form of marketing. So if you give me your cosign, then that's nothing. That's more than I can ask for. So I appreciate y'all. Other than that, those are your ways to support this here podcast. I want to give a huge shout out real quick to the Congressional Black Caucus and also the Rolling C Action Fund. There we go, because that name's been cooking me. I had my first official partnership with them. I was able to talk around what misinformation and disinformation looks like, and just making sure that we are just being the most informed voters, but also combating this media illiteracy that is happening as well. And so really glad to be able to partner with them. I love some of the work that they are doing. Again, I don't think that the election is a one-stop shop. I do think community is what is going to end up changing. Culture changes before policy does. And so it's a both and situation in terms of making sure we're politically engaged, but also making sure we're taking care of each other. So one, shout out to both of them for also just giving me the opportunity. Another shout out to Olay and Friends. Thank you for having me for another episode on your podcast as well. Thank you for everybody who's been engaging and sharing and just showing so much appreciation. It really does mean a lot to hear from y'all. Other than that, that's me taking care of the bills. I gave y'all more than enough time. Niggas was vamping. If you're watching this episode, then you see 2 lovely humans that will be joining me for this episode. I am going to have them introduce themselves and let them know who y'all are and what you are about before we get into the full Keepin It a Bean. Who wants to introduce themselves first?
I already know you want me to go first.
Of course. Punk ass.
So first of all, you different. You definitely
I'm gonna take that.
No, for sure. I appreciate your rundown just now. You know what I mean? Make me step my game up a little bit.
Now we are.
That was tight. That was tight.
7 years.
No, I see the work ethic. But my name is Ryan Harris. I'm the founder and CEO of a nonprofit organization As I Plant the Seed. And we basically cater to at-risk youth in I want to say 100 Park section, but we've grown way beyond a 100 Park section, serving the youth. And we've been able to hit all different areas of Philadelphia and even outside of Philadelphia. Kids travel to our organization to utilize our free programs that we have Monday through Sunday.
Come on.
We starting with tutoring, mentorship program, the Seedling program. That's from fifth grade, K to fifth grade, starting them off even younger. Yeah. Absolutely. And we also have a partnership with Rock to the Future that teach music production for free and give the kids the instruments to be able to learn how to play instruments for free as well with the lessons. Then we also have like chess and poetry, graphic design, our core mentorship program, which is the Talk to Me mentorship program. We also have boxing, cosmetology.
Oh, y'all doing all the things.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't want to miss anything. Jump rope. And we also have a grief counseling program for the youth. And we also have, what am I missing? I'm missing something. But don't count it to my head. But
not the heart.
Yeah, for sure. But we're doing a lot of work, and we've been in existence for 12 years now, and we straight from the muscle. We haven't been able to, secure any government funding the whole 12 years, but that didn't stop us.
Right.
We equipped with some skills to be able to accomplish some missions, but more so leaning on faith and knowing that, our mission is, God sent. So, the increase in everything that's coming for us has nothing to do with us. We just got to put the work in. So,
I'm excited.
Yeah. But, yeah, man, it's been a journey, but, we putting in the work in, we raising generations and we changing the narrative. We got our youth come back, graduating from college, coming back running programs, becoming mentors from the program that they came from, becoming creative directors, having their own salon in the basement of the treehouse, having their own nail tech salon in the basement. So I like to say we're doing pretty well. We got some
casual introduction to yourself.
Some college graduates that's doing some amazing work. In this world. We got some committee people. We got actually the youngest committee person in the city, and she also became the commissioner of the 5th district. The youth commissioner of the 5th district. We raising them up, And if y'all don't know, our motto is Proverbs 22:6, train up a child in the way he should go. And when he is older, he will not depart from it. And that's what I believe is going on right now.
Come on, man.
We planting seeds, brother.
Yeah, literally.
So I mean, that's enough for introduction. I don't want to keep going.
Nah, you're all good. I'm excited because there's so much of what you said that I'm excited to just like delve into that conversation with y'all a lot more, because y'all are two people that I do see as like really huge staples in this community, especially when I think about the work getting done. So I'm a hold there from right now.
I appreciate that,
because I'm gonna start talking some shit, but I'm gonna allow.
We waiting for you,
my good brother.
That was a lot. But even more could be said. Definitely a pleasure to be here with y'all this evening or whenever we'll play. My name is Micah Wilson. I had the honor and privilege to be a father. You know what I mean? Expecting another daughter this week.
Yeah, man.
So I thank God for that. I serve daily as the Correctional Director of Education for the Philadelphia Department of Prisons.
Yep.
And prior to that, I taught for over 10 years here in the city of Philadelphia. So definitely covering that the prison school pipeline.
Yep.
I've been honored to be able to work and serve and advocate for the youth and now adults. Also serve as the council chair for the West Philadelphia Arts Council.
Come on now.
We have a partnership between the Paul Robeson House and Saks at UPenn. The applications are due on the 29th of this month. Really light lift for folks to fill it out. There'll be other cycles going on for another year and a half.
Yeah.
So while this plays and it's not out, we'll have at least 2 more granting cycles. Awesome. One before the end of this year and one in 2025.
Okay, already
from the rip.
Okay, Mike.
Seriously, and a new venture. Started my own consulting company for some of the work that's been going on around programming, auditing, strategic planning, and and just restorative justice, diversity, equity, and inclusion work. So, and it's not just me. Just want to connect people to the best resources I've been seeing doing the work, such as brothers as Ryan Harris, such as brothers as yourself, and there's a large community. But we sometimes need people to connect the dots.
Yeah.
And common unity, if you put it together, means community, and that's the whole purpose. Yeah.
Dog, that was a word.
You see,
came on the
Oh, he came ready for you.
Yeah.
Okay, Mike. Okay, Mike.
No, it's dope. And y'all, I'm so excited for my audience to get to know both of y'all. I had the pleasure of knowing Micah now for the past 4 or 5 years.
5 years.
5 years now.
Wow.
And then I knew of your work before even like actually
Right,
putting
right,
everything
for
together. And so when Micah was able, to connect the dots, I was like, wait, I already follow you. Oh, wait, I know who you are. I've seen you. Yeah,
And I was following you as well.
Right. So we were just like, so we aware and not even like
those that do the work know those that do the work.
Absolutely.
It's that part right there.
Sometimes we just can't cross paths.
No,
that's
funny.
for sure. There's different
it's
worlds.
like
There's a whole lot of different worlds out here.
So many.
We're going to get into that too because I learned some stuff about these worlds, man.
Oh, dog.
There's a whole lot of different worlds. Like being able to step into a world and be able to carry your influence over. But understanding that world, it might not be your world. You got to watch everything.
Yep.
You got to see everything. You got to see everybody moving. It's a different world. It ain't your world. But when you get in your world, you back popping.
Oh, no, that's a fact.
Yeah, but it's these worlds out here, so.
Dog, yeah. I'm so excited to hop in this conversation with y'all. So before we steep into like that full part of that conversation, you see how I did that? Keeping the tea and the yeah, we out here. But before we hop into that, we always start off with a quick little icebreaker type situation. This is called the Keepin It a Bean section. So this is where you keep it 100. Be as authentic as yourself. Whatever your hot take is for this moment. It could be pop culture, politics, personal, whatever opinion that you're just like, yeah, I'm throwing this out to the world. That's what it's going to be. So just start off. If I'm going to keep it a bean, boom.
All right, so I got one.
Come on now.
I'm going to keep it a bean. This is called Stay in Your Lane. And I really want to say this because one thing that I notice about these worlds that we just talked about, like you be an expert in your world, right? And you got to gain merit in your world when you're working in that world to be able to be called an expert.
Right.
And if I just jump from the nonprofit world to try to be a rapper, I would have to gain notoriety being a rapper.
Yeah, you need to get respect.
Absolutely. But in the nonprofit world, anybody could just jump over here.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't know how to treat people.
Right.
People don't know how to give back. It's not just a thing that you just say, I want to wake up tomorrow and give back, because if you don't understand how to give back, then you could build a disaster.
Yeah, you can.
And I've seen it plenty of times.
Consequences.
So people really need to stay in their lane and collaborate more than they're trying to spearhead things. It's people that's already doing the work that literally have their finger on the pulse of the community already. So there's no need to reinvent the wheel and jump into a lane. But for some reason, in the nonprofit world, anybody could just grab book bags and be like, oh, all right, I'm a philanthropist. It's like, damn. We got to stop that. If you're a philanthropist, give the money.
Right.
Align with those principles and those morals and values of the organization that is aligned with who you are and where you're going in life, and you drop that money.
Right.
That's it. Everybody want to get their feet wet in the nonprofit world. This is not a game. This is a real thing. It's a real live, moving community. You know what I mean? And if you're not here to really serve, then get out our lane.
Oh, that's a word and a half.
Keep it a bean.
Keep it a bean.
Nah, truly and honestly, because I think a lot of people don't even realize that a lot of the time, so many people, especially I call it the attention economy, everybody want to be the first to do something. Or people want to be the only to do something. Rather
or the
than
spotlight
saying,
of it. Or the spotlight of it.
Yeah. Like there's one way to be able to exercise and move your influence, right?
Absolutely.
Like there's value in that,
you
right?
can collaborate and still get the same response.
Yes.
But you don't have to be the person running it.
Yes.
Let the expert do it. Let them take care of the community the way they take care of let them be organized.
And the ways in which that they know how,
Absolutely.
right? And so it's like, yeah, there are some spaces where people have asked me to like step in. Somebody asked me to be on like this environmental justice panel. I said, dog, I don't know shit about fuck as it refers to this environment. I am not going to be able to be on this panel.
Right. I'm glad you brought that up.
I know where my lane is at, right?
Absolutely.
Like I understand abolition. I understand education. I understand social justice movement.
Absolutely.
I understand that space, right?
Absolutely.
I don't know anything. So for me, I was like, one, I understand, like, some people are just like, well, I got to be here, and I got to be here, and I got to be here. And I'm like, no, it does not make sense for me to be in all of these spaces.
I appreciate the value that you adding to me, but that's not my lane.
That's not my lane. I can tell you some people who are in that lane.
For sure.
And, like, lean it that way. I said, however, if there's something I can do to amplify what you're doing, that's a very different ask, right? And so I think it's always, like, interesting because even as I like entered the space of influence and people were asking me to be on panels and stuff, I'm like, I'm not the expert here. I said, however, I can co-sign or like give you somebody, but I also recognize like some panels are like, yo, we just need names. And it's like the space where, no, I actually don't want you talking about this thing. Like I'd be looked at crazy because I'm the one calling out the other person. Like, why are you talking about gun violence when you perpetuate mad shit, bro? Like, what are we talking about?
Oh,
right?
We're gonna get into
and so
it.
like that's
What's the last example that you all have seen of that? Because as an educator, I know people learn different ways. Some people learn by sound. Some people learn by doing. Some may be like visual learners. So do you have like an example for me that we could give in regards to those type of experiences?
honestly.
Wait. We talking about people that perpetuate gun violence and then act like they want to fight it.
Correct.
It could be, is it that or just in general, a person?
You want to play any, mini, money, mo, or you just saying that?
No, I was just saying that, but
I'm about to say.
sorry,
like, wait, what?
y'all know I'm being sarcastic.
rhetorical question
but
because,
seriously though,
listen, you can point them out.
it's too much of the norm. And what's dangerous is when many times people that may not be in that lane, people that want to help, people that want to find direction, or many times we don't get. It's only one mic. So it's a limited opportunity for somebody to speak and for people to hear.
Right.
And there is some people can be doing more damage than helping because from what is said and speaking from a lack of experience will really allow a lot of room for error that really will impact those, again, that don't have a mic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That don't have that opportunity to finally speak.
Yeah, because who was it recently? I think it might have been the day we actually like formally met.
For sure.
Who was it? Beanie Sigel talking about?
Oh, talking about gun
violence.
Yeah, and so like it's the question of who's the messenger, right? And like questioning like where's that coming from?
And who's the curator? Because it's like if we're going to use Beanie Sigel, is he going to be speaking from his personal experience, like the disincentives of being in the streets? You know what I mean? Or are we still glorifying it when you're not even that character no more? You know what I mean?
Well,
because
most of them not.
When Beanie Sigel was shot, I know his family was praying for him, who he really is. You get what I'm saying? So it's like that's the truth from that perspective, and that's what we really are talking about is families in the community, not the entertainment stuff. You know what I mean? How it really impacts people, like connected that. How did that impact your family, your kids, your health? You know what I mean? Your brain,
the real you,
your dreams,
the real you, the real you.
You know what I mean?
Because there's so much. And shout out to BL Sherelle. We had a little disagreement not too long ago on Twitter, but it was like Gillie the kid had been talking around like I'm praying that all of these young boys, like I pray that some of these boys get prison because that's what they need. Like
prison?
I pray prison on some of them, right?
I ain't hear that, but that's.
Can I speak to prison?
Oh, I was gonna get into it. I was like,
prison is not for nobody.
Well, no, I'm fully in agreement with you.
Or how you say anybody, however you want to say it.
Yeah,
it's for anybody, right? However you say it, but whatever.
And I think it kind of leans into like some of the stuff we were talking about too. Is like what happens when you gain the space of influence and the responsibility that comes along with it.
Absolutely,
right?
the
so,
work
like,
that we do every day.
Yeah,
is speak to that very existence.
Yeah, and so I remember seeing that video, and I was like, this cannot be the $1 million worth of game, right? And he is somebody who has been impacted by gun violence, right? And so there are two spaces that we can like exist if we want to be empathetic. He's speaking from a place of pain, right? He's speaking from a place of hurt. I said, and we can acknowledge those who have experienced gun violence and never like dismiss that very real grief that these people, that our communities are facing.
For sure.
And at the same time, when you do have a platform like that, you're able to air out grievances, but you're also going to be held to a different responsibility because you can then confirm like a lot of the work that people are just like, no, prisons are not spaces for young boys or young people or people in general. Right? There's not conducive. But there are some people who are just like, no, I needed jail to be still, right? But I'm like, in my mind, I was like, there's other alternatives.
There's places to be still at.
And still get that same result.
But we already brainwashed to believe that it's a rehabilitation place, and it's not.
Because it's the illusion of public safety.
I literally was just talking about the illusion of rehabilitation. That's not the way you rehabilitate anybody, if you want to be honest, especially not treating them like that.
Right.
So if we really gonna get into it, we gotta deal with that first.
We
You
got
feel
to
what I'm
think about
saying?
prevention, diversion,
Absolutely.
like all these spaces.
Prevention.
Like,
There's so much. It's so many spaces of prevention that has opportunities
right
for them. I can name 10 off the top of my head.
right.
You know what I mean? I can name 20.
And it's like the matter of, and I think like the tension that was existing in our dialogue was like, I have been impacted by prison because of by proxy of my father, right?
Your dad did time.
24 years.
That's a lot of years.
Yeah. So he went in when he was 20. I met him 4 or 5 years ago, right?
Are you serious?
Yeah. And so I'm looking at that and I was like, yeah, I understand what it means for me to be impacted, but that's not my lived experience of being inside the system.
Absolutely.
And so like when I'm hearing his story, he's like, he spent a third of his time, 8 out of that 24 years, he was in the hole. Right, they did
That's inhumane,
dog. And so it's like a lot of this stuff I think around like how that impacted him, because going in at 20, you're still a boy.
Yeah,
you're still a young man. Like you are just starting.
Man, you don't know nothing. You know all of 20 years. You don't know nothing. At 20.
You know how I almost went crazy during the pandemic when I thought it was like airborne and I was scared to go outside.
Are you serious?
Like you were agoraphobia.
Like
yeah, they never fooled me.
You get what I'm saying? Like
I'm just keeping it.
But no, I'm keeping it a buck too. Like. So to think that I had to be in the house for like a day or two, I wasn't that scared because after like 24 hours, it's like, man, I'm going outside. I'm not going to. But imagine being in a space for 23 hours and 1 hour out.
Oh, right.
That's 23 and 1.
What if you don't have a roommate? What if you don't have a cellmate? What if you actually are in isolation? What if for 3 or 4 days you don't get to come out? Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And that's just stepping out of a small space. That's
why
still
they gotta
not
get treated like trash.
That's still not in society.
Right.
That's still not walking down the block. That's still not going to the park. That doesn't ensure someone's asking you, hey, how you doing? How's your day? So it's like
what they sleeping on,
right?
What they eating? What's
they eating?
What's the cleanliness of the water, of the air?
Let's be serious. Let's be serious.
So it's
We're
just
not
like,
looking at the conditions when we say stuff like that.
That's
so
what I'm saying.
That's
so what is they eating? In
environmental trauma.
Yeah,
is not just living in a community where there may be community violence.
Right.
And not to say anything against like the officers and those that work to ensure a space is safe.
Yeah.
Or tries to develop some type of environment. But when you know the history of what makes people to be eligible for prison, working from a status that we initially were identified in this country, there is nothing restorative.
Right.
There's nothing reformative. There's nothing rehabilitative about that experience. It's meant to identify you as a number, because if they were redeveloping the person, they should call them their name before identifying them solely as a number, as property. So that already means they're trying to make you understand that you don't have control of yourself.
You're nothing.
When we're the only ones that can control the change.
We keeping it a being, that means you're nothing.
Exactly.
You are a number.
Rights, right? Like
absolutely.
You are told when to walk. You are told what side to walk on. You're told when to shit. You're told when you can go outside. You're told when you eat.
How much money you can spend. How much money you can earn.
How much money you can earn.
Penny
on a dollar.
If you could hug your mom. If you could hug your child.
Yeah. And that's a very real thing. And so I think about this a lot as we think around how community.
No, but people glorifying it, going to jail.
No, well, yeah, I think that's the other piece in there, right?
Like that's a joint. Like, oh, this a hotel. It's not a hotel.
No, but that's some people. Some people are conditioned because they're just like, at least in some people's mind, I get 3 meals a day.
Yeah,
I have a space to sleep. There's somebody who tells me what I can and can't do. Like
that's exactly how they want us.
And those pipelines, that's a similarity with school.
Mm-hmm. We know that.
That's a similarity also with the foster care system, juvenile.
We know that. We've seen that time and time again.
You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
It's like the pipeline is not just a school. So people, it's like don't get finessed by thinking, oh, the schools are just conditioning it. It's unfortunately many structures that are set up for youth that don't have guardians or parents. Or responsible adults, or
trustworthy
community
adults. Trustworthy adults.
And that's something we talked about a lot in terms of like restorative practices and even SEL at like such a younger time. Is like, how do I?
That's where we at. We doing SEL now.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And that's one of the pillars. It's like identifying trusted people, being able to regulate, being able to make responsible decision making. Like all these elements that should be existing younger and younger, but we are starting to kind of see the effects of us not being able to navigate those conversations, not be able to have that, because so many of us are conditioned to instead of engage, so many of us are conditioned to understand punity is the way to go, not restoration.
Right.
And because of us not having that idea of restoration or even know when to start with it, I think we see it because we're working with youth development.
Absolutely.
We are trying to be within the community, but it's not a norm. And because of it not being a norm, there's so much tension of just like, y'all are just using your imagination. This can't be a real world, because we are so scared to have a radical idea of what the world that we can live in could be. But to me, growing up, for me, I was like, community always existed, right? Like, I knew I could go across the street and ask for sugar. I knew that the neighbor was going to be looking out for me, make sure I got home on time. When me and my brothers would walk to school, we would see the same people. We understood who the community was. And so, like, even my idea of community has always been steeped in, you need to know your neighbor. You need to be able to treat your neighbor with respect, know their name. They should know your name. If I lived on my same block for 4 years, even when I moved to Philly, I knew Mr. Jim, I knew Darren, I knew Miss Sheila, I knew the niggas on the stoop. They called me Teach, the good Claudia.
Hey, can we talk about the niggas on the stoop? Because a lot of people like to exclude them, and I just want to bring this up because the niggas on the stoop is a part of the community as well.
Dog, they saved my ass from getting caught by the cops, and not caught by the cops, but like the cops misidentified me. And they were like, no, that's Teach. He helps out. He's here. He's with the community. But if they didn't know me, they wouldn't have been able to vouch.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
But because it's a simple good morning that I gave to
if
them.
you wasn't a part of the community, they would not even have been able to vouch for you either. That's a part
Absolutely.
too.
And they can't part of the economy as well.
Dog.
So they can say what they want because, you know, some people is taking care of their family.
Dog.
However, anybody want to look upon it, you got to live it to understand what's going on.
Right.
I'm not condoning anything of sort, but I will say I understand it.
Yeah.
And I will say, and I won't turn a blind eye to it, that, you know, when people start talking about removing gentrification and all that, and they thinking about them and don't plan for them, you're doing our community a disservice, because those kids that's occupying spaces in these communities are going back home to them.
Yes.
And if you're not doing them if you're not having that best interest at heart, how can you ensure the safety of the child?
Right.
Can I keep it a bean?
Go ahead.
Before I keep it a bean, Beanie Sigel is one of my favorite rappers. When I grow my mustache out and I shave my face off, people say I look like him. Stop it, Marquise. I know I should have never said that in front of you. But I do want to be clear, not making light of the trauma that he went through and how it impacted his family. But I think my biggest critique is if you're going to use such a figure that represents our city, that is achieved in his own artistry, they should have the right person in that room curating the conversation,
right,
who needs to be the expert that could redirect and make sure that we could pull the value from their experiences and who they are to make sure that we're not supporting just the topic but the solution for the problems that we discuss.
That lives in there too. Like
yes.
There's something around the
yes.
experience.
No, absolutely.
Yes. Importance in the.
There's a space for it.
Research.
Yeah. There's a space for it.
Because that's the narrative.
Yes.
Absolutely. There's a space for it.
So I just wanted to clear that up before I keep it at me. So how is it that we can vote? How is it that I would have to vote for either Donald Trump,
oh my God,
or Joe Biden?
Joe Biden.
But I can't vote for our school board for the city of Philadelphia. I can't vote for the commissioner of prisons. I can't vote for some of these appointed positions that are very impactful, that people don't even know that there's a difference between appointed positions and those that are selected by the democracy. So I just think that is very interesting and intentional. And no, it's cool because it's like, I know that we can have better candidates. And a lot of people say, like, man, your ancestors died for you to vote. Our ancestors died for us to have the opportunity, the choice to vote. And what I don't like is that, wow, with this choice that my ancestors died for and we fought for, that these parties are giving us, like, out of all the thousands of leaders all over this nation, how, even the unqualified ones that aren't in that lane, how is it that this is what we've come up with? In regards to our school board, and we were talking about community and like people knowing you in that situation of danger or advocacy that was needed, the community was able to do so because they knew you.
Right.
How many teachers, how many principals, assistant principals, dean of students, educational nonprofits, out of school time programmers, how many of y'all can name half of our school board? 2.
Talk it.
So that for me, that shows the disconnect. There's limited community in that space.
Right.
Absolutely.
And there was a big discussion around people being appointed, city council, the mayor.
I remember this.
But it was brushed under the rug. But it's like, how are we talking about prison reform, which we should, and we talk about education reform, but we don't start at the top.
Let all the people that got cases from weed, let them out of jail now.
Dog.
Now.
Crystal Bush, shout out to her.
Shout out Crystal
She's
Bush.
coming to speak to the women in the education department tomorrow.
Yeah.
Come on
She's
now.
an advocate for Free My Weed Man. She also is formerly the owner of
And not only freedom, but get them business and set them up
for sure.
because that's like a spit in the face.
Dog.
That's so disrespectful. And the fact
Now
that we
that
got to
you
even
see
have
it
this
as a lucrative
conversation,
piece.
the fact that we got to have this conversation is where we at in this country.
Right.
So say that. You feel what I'm saying? Like that's black and white. That's not a scale you can play with. You know what I mean? Like let's be real. Let's be honest about the situation. And y'all can't sit here and be making money off of something that y'all locked a lot of people up for and took them away from families.
Yes.
And we talking about problems and the structure of what's going on. This the infrastructure.
Can I keep it a bean?
Go, keep going.
And first, before I want to give another disclaimer. Shout out to Crystal Bush. I put a call out for people in the community to come to the prisons and talk to the men and women in the education department to support an incentive. And the majority of the people that responded are Black women. So thank you all. We've been able to be confirmed all the way out into October.
Come on.
There's some Black men that supposedly do this work and say they do the work and get a lot of followers, and they be at the mayor's office and they was fraud and they didn't follow up. But I'm not here to shame nobody. I'm just encouraging our brothers that really like to really do the work and no, Micah, hit me up. Hit me up and we could definitely do this. But I want to speak to her good because I feel she's an example of somebody that is not just someone that is staying in her lane, but she prepared herself to be an expert.
Yeah.
So we were talking about that lived experience.
Yeah.
If she has a documentary that's out, hopefully we could share it. It speaks about how she supported her son, her brother's son, her mother, her two brothers, both were locked up. Her father was also locked up for over 24 years, similar. Yeah. And when those things happen, family members got to step up. She also was a social worker. Yeah. So she was also working with those kids and those families that make connect.
She's been around for
mad long now.
For a minute.
And she's young, relatively, but been doing the work. She was working with
having
kids
the vans,
got the vans,
taking them out to the prison.
To be able to stay connected to their family.
That's real work.
The thing, though, right?
And people need to acknowledge that kind of work. I don't even mean to cut you off, but people really need to acknowledge that kind of work because that's the work that connect that small connectivity that you need to stay connected to that person that's away from their family. Yeah. You absolutely need that. And it's people that father from jail.
Dog.
It's people that father from jail.
Absolutely.
Doing the best that they can from jail.
And that's still right. That's the kind of work that doesn't get told, right?
They're not talking about that.
And I always say it, but for me, I realize, and part of the work that I do, I have the privilege to pontificate, right? I can sit here and be able to talk, but it's also another space of in that moment of me being blessed to have this platform, it also requires me to stay grounded in the work that I do at the same time. So the fact of the matter is, even if she does not have her platform, right? Mm-hmm. It's the fact that she is in this work every single day that doesn't always allow her to be able to speak at certain things. Mm-hmm. And it's beautiful to be able to use the medium of a documentary to really be able to express the work you're doing. But it's a matter of how do we continue to amplify this and understand yes, it's a both and situation. I've been doing this work, and the people who do it for the quick glitz and glam, I'm gonna do this for a quick photo op, that's one thing. But when you're in this work over and over again, you understand the exhaustion that it can take. You can understand the work that it can take. You can understand how unsexy this stuff is. And that's the piece I think a lot of people have been missing is there are so many people who claim that they want to do good, but I've really come to this conclusion, a lot of community and genuine good has died. And so, as we continue to think around, this perception of what good is, and then not only that, thinking around the work that y'all are also doing, and I say we, in the space that we're in, I think it is so important for us to continue to, one, be able to plant those seeds, be able to understand how to nurture those seeds, and then also understanding as we nurture those things, the pollen is what's the contagion. It makes it much more contagious, right?
Absolutely.
And so I think that's the piece that I think a lot of people do want to do good. I think some people don't know how. I think some people like the perception of being perceived as good people, but in reality that might not always be their everyday lived experience. And so when I think around, somebody was pushing, was just like, yeah, I just feel like kids they're not about, they just complain all the time. They don't do this. They don't do this. And I'm just like, kids are also like malleable, like kids, right? So they're modeling the behavior that they see.
Absolutely.
And so for me, I argue sometimes that we live in such a world that feels hyper individual, especially just because that's what America puts out, is like, do this thing yourself.
Right.
But like, to me, I'm like, the killer of capitalism is actually community.
Absolutely.
And so this way, there's no need for that competition. There's no need of this hyper individualism. There's no need for me to only think about me.
Right.
Because I realize in my community, when I show up in community, a lot of people be confused. And that's what started making me think around this. They're like, no, Marquise, like, you really just a community ass nigga. Like, you really just talk to your neighbors. I'd be like, yes.
Why not?
Because we live amongst each other. I said, I can't live in a neighborhood for 4 years and never talk to my neighbors.
That's crazy.
Never know how to show up. My mail got taken and flown into the middle of the street. If my boy Darren did not know my name, he texted me and was like, "Oh, Keith, like, here you go. Wow. I got your mail. I just want to let you know it looked like an important document." Right. So he said, "I ain't open it. Here it is. I just want to make sure it was safe."
That's love.
And I was like, "That's love, right?
That's community."
And so as I think about what we kind of are discussing in this episode, I really, to kind of land this plane a little bit, and there will be a part 2 because they will be back. Absolutely. Because we did not get enough into the goodness of this conversation.
For real.
But how do you both want to continue to have a positive impact and also model what it means to be in community and be able to push community to want to do good? I know we were able to highlight, here are some of the deficits, here's some of the challenges, here's some of the bullshit, frankly, that be happening. But I think a lot of what you do, both of you, also are much more specific in those communities that you're trying to target. It's very specific to say I'm up in Hunting Park. It's very specific to say I'm working with Philadelphia youth, currently incarcerated youth, right? Like, that is something to say. Right. Because a lot of time we kind of do this blanket statement like, yeah, we're gonna help everybody, we're gonna help all the niggas. But in reality, and I would say, like, what my family needs in Charleston is not what I need in Philly.
Right.
Those are very different needs, right? In terms of like how we show up location wise, the community, the culture of people. And so I love what you two are doing because it feels specific, it feels intentional, and it also feels like you are also touching community that sometimes goes unnoticed.
Absolutely.
And that's the piece I really want to lean into, because it's one thing to have like your model, but it's another piece to go for the students up in North Philly who are like, yeah, no, we are, don't forget about us, right?
Absolutely.
And you're somebody who still sees everybody. You don't just see like, here's the advantageous quick thing to talk about.
Right.
Who are the kids who see you day in and day out? So can you both lean into, as your last thoughts, how are you able to continue to impact community and how can others do the same?
So let me go before you, because we literally was kind of like touching on this outside before you came in. So I feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be. Yeah. Like doing exactly what I'm supposed to do, living in the will of God. And the best thing I could possibly do for my community is be an example.
They can bear witness.
I can, absolutely. Yeah. That's undeniable. And to continue this work means to continue the work of God. And I'm just a willing vessel. Yeah. So it makes it easy for me to get up in the morning, no matter how frustrated or overwhelming my day may seem, because I'm human still. Yeah. At the end of the day, it's the same thing that drains me, fuel me. So it's a labor of love. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's its own regenerator. Yeah. And I thank God for building me like that, because I get to weather every storm because I know it's temporary. Yeah. It's an upside to everything. So yeah, that's how I want to continue, and I just thank God for choosing me to, because me and my wife was talking, And I was
shout out to the wife.
Yeah, shout out to my wife,
Come on
man.
now.
My man,
She's the one hold me down for sure. We just had our 1 year anniversary and we just had another baby.
Come on,
bless.
congratulations.
Yeah, so-
We'd love to see it.
But my wife was telling me, I'm like, yo, God really loved me. And she stopped me for a second. She looked at me, she like, Ryan, she was like, God love all of us the same way. She said the thing different about you is that he trusts you. I said, I said, that was heavy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that just put something on me, just another cloak of responsibility and accountability that I take very, very serious in my position. So being an example was very, very big to me. And I wasn't always the example.
Right.
So, that's where I'm at.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Yeah,
for
thank you
sure.
for sharing.
For sure.
Oh, yeah. That,
For sure.
no, it hit. Yeah. Micah?
Yeah, like when I saw Ryan, I asked him like, "Yo, what's up?" And he fucked me up when he went that way. But I also, I intentionally want to curse or say profane words before I move forward in what I'm about to say. Also, thank you for laying a space for us. Something else that connects me and Ryan is not just our work, but also like us knowing how real God has been in our lives. You get what I'm saying? And like being obedient to like destiny and visions and dreams, the callings, the things that people are seeing, the thoughts that y'all are having is not by mistake. And I know that I encourage you to do it. I'm practicing it myself. I'm rebuking like imposter syndrome and doubt and fear. I'm being mindful of who I'm around. I'm trying to learn how to love myself better, because if God loves inside me, he feeling when I'm not loving myself. Yeah. If I'm a child of God, he's birthed me to be divine. And if I believe that I will be transitioning soon, keeping it a bean, my closing words is for us leaders, especially us millennials, us younger leaders, we need to be leading with a succession plan. Because if we want to look at our elders and we want to look at the mistakes and the success, some of our frustration, y'all notice, my young leaders, is that our elders, they have not led with a succession plan in place. So there's intentional actions to ensure that there's no place for us. So I would say lead young leaders with a succession plan in mind, because none of us, if we're focused on liberation, can continue to function in these oppressive spaces. You can't be a liberator. You can't be liberated if you're restrained, if you're not appreciated, if you don't feel safe, if you're not loved, and your basic needs are not met. So how am I going to be doing my work? Wow. From me teaching from pre-K and cleaning toilets, you know what I mean? After losing a high-paying job, losing my home, not being able to see my daughter, my father being sick, cleaning bathrooms with a master's plus doctorate credits, Marquise. Yeah. That is when I was fine. God was really speaking to me about being obedient to something that he revealed to me 2 jobs ago. Wow. Now 3 jobs now. I have the affirmation. I've done the self-work and working towards opening up a school to get in front of, be a part of that early pipeline. That's not going to be going to imprisonment. It's not even about re-entry. It's about ownership. Yeah. So, and moreover, focusing on it's not just about us teaching our kids when they're young. It's working with our mothers, the women that birthed them, to ensure that the learning as an educator starts in the womb. So that would also dictated by their health. Right. So we need to support our women in regards to prenatal care and just what education support looks like, and also build our own institutions to start the pipeline so we know where it goes. Mm-hmm. And a trailblazer like Ryan is somebody that 5 years ago, it was someone that inspired me and affirmed that, Micah, this can happen. Yeah. And as God's continued to bless him and he's been obedient, because of his model that he said he wanted to be, which he's already been doing, a non-believer like myself, not in God, but not in myself, in the dream that he gave me. Now I know that I can do it because of him, you know, man, and because powerful. Of you, because we talked about this, 4 years ago. So thank y'all for being obedient to those things. And as y'all modeled it, I'm trying to join the party.
Oh man. And can I say this? I know we got to do a part 2 because this wasn't.
No, this
is a prerequisite.
Yeah.
But we getting into self-efficacy. We getting into Maslow hierarchy of needs. We have to. Yeah. And we gotta really, really talk about some of these things that you know, is affecting our community and how that system is really, you know, deficient in our communities.
Right.
And you're not gonna see success if you're not meeting those needs, like you were just saying.
Very basic needs.
Very basic needs. So we're gonna get into that.
Yeah,
but
nah.
I appreciate y'all for having me, man.
Thank you.
All
Yeah,
right.
no, yeah, absolutely. I'm so excited to have y'all back on for the part 2 because I know my audience is gonna be able to, I don't even say audience, like my community that I was able to build, like this is the stuff that we talk around, like especially like a lot of my viewers are abolitionists, so even like the idea of transformational justice is important. So when you're talking around these needs, you have to ask that question why a couple of times as to how we got here. It's easy to yell and look at the symptoms, but it's harder to like pull it at the root and really understand, the reason that this kid is not performing well in school is because he's hungry. He's hungry because he was not able to eat. He was not able to eat because his parents are working 2 jobs and they also live in a food desert. Right. Like there are so many things that lead up to when a person enters whatever institution we're talking about. Right. And so I love the conversation y'all had that we were able to have because we were able to address an issue. We were able to also be reflective in our participation and how we want to rectify that issue, but also understanding like there's still a lot of work to do. And I think that's a lot of the time of frustration that a lot of us live in is like, get the work done. And when we are assuming our responsibilities and we are being trusted with a platform or the talents that we are had or the responsibility of influence, right? Sometimes it's scary. So some of us are tracked away from that. Some of us are just like, let's take the easy route out.
Absolutely.
And then the other ones are like, how do we actually like sit in this work? Because there is an uncomfortable thing that happens when you're building something new. There is the pushback that happens, right?
Always.
And so I love the reflection that you had. I love also your connection to your spirituality in terms of like how we were able to have this conversation. That to me, I think is really thank you for inviting me into your world a little bit more for both of you. But I know that there's so much more that we have to get into in terms of the work that all of us are doing, how it's interconnected, but then also how we can continue to bring more people into that world. Because I think you, Micah, you really, really, really have a beautiful talent of connecting the right people at the right times. Like that is almost divine timing on how you are able to connect the right people together. Wow. And so thank you for always like investing in the community all these years of me and you arguing back and forth. And me and Micah used to go blows for blows, but then we sit there and be like, at least we work well together. Like, at the end of the day, I've worked 3 of jobs with you or 2 jobs with you.
Yes.
Yeah. And so in so many different capacities, right? And so I love being able to witness the growth that we were able to have. I love being able to witness the relationship that you both have as well to each other, and just seeing like how do we continue to leverage each other, because
we're gonna get into that relationship.
No, I'm excited. We're gonna get into that. And it cut us off, so we gonna get into it.